Laken Hope Riley was a 22-year-old nursing student living in Athens, Georgia. She studied at Augusta University's nursing campus after transferring from the University of Georgia to pursue pediatric nursing. She was active, organized, and enjoyed fitness. 3 to 6 times a week, she went for morning runs, often with her roommate. On February 22, 2024, she went out alone. At 9:03 a.m., surveillance footage captured Laken leaving her residence for a run through the intramural fields and wooded trails near Lake Herrick. She held her phone in her left hand and wore white AirPods. The trail system was commonly used by students for exercise. Around 6 minutes into her run, smartwatch data showed a sudden stop along the path. At nearly the same time, the emergency SOS feature on her phone triggered a 911 call. The brief call contained muffled sounds and movement before disconnecting after roughly 1 minute. Attempts to call back were unsuccessful. By late morning, Laken's roommates noticed she had not returned. Around 11 a.m., concern grew when messages went unanswered. A temporary service outage affected phones in the house that morning, but Laken's phone was not affected. One roommate returned home, saw Laken was still gone, and checked her shared location. The phone's location was stationary near the wooded intramural fields. 2 roommates followed the route she would have taken, bringing a dog with them. Off the main trail, the dog located a white AirPod in the leaves. It was identified as Laken's. Emergency services were notified. University police initiated a search of the wooded area. At approximately 12:30 p.m., an officer located Laken under a tree roughly 64 feet from the trail. She was partially covered with leaves and debris and showed visible blunt force injuries. Medical personnel confirmed she was deceased. The area around her body indicated signs of a struggle. 2 rocks with visible blood were recovered nearby. Forensic testing confirmed the blood belonged to Laken. Investigators believed the rocks were used during the assault. Laken's phone was later found under another tree. A clear left thumb fingerprint was visible on the screen that did not match Laken. Smartwatch data provided additional detail. After the sudden stop, her heart rate continued for several minutes, overlapping with the brief 911 call. The watch recorded movement off the trail, consistent with being forced or dragged approximately 60 feet into the woods. Her heart rate registered until about 9:28 a.m. An autopsy later found blunt force trauma and indications of asphyxiation. Her clothing was disturbed, and investigators believed an attempted sexual assault occurred but did not progress further. Police expanded their perimeter, collected surveillance from campus and nearby apartments, and searched trash and recycling bins in the vicinity. A dark jacket was recovered from a blue recycling bin behind an apartment complex. The jacket had bloodstains and several long brown hairs twisted around a button. DNA confirmed both the blood and hair belonged to Laken. A doorbell camera facing the recycling bin provided a major lead. At 9:44 a.m., roughly 15 minutes after her heart rate stopped, footage showed a man approaching the bin wearing a dark jacket and black Adidas cap. He removed his cap briefly, replaced it, and discarded the jacket before walking away. Police recovered 3 disposable black gloves in bushes near the bin. 1 glove was torn at the thumb. DNA matched Laken. The next morning around 8:30 a.m., officers observed a man in the same area wearing a black Adidas cap consistent with the footage. He was identified as 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra, a Venezuelan national living in the apartment complex with relatives. During the encounter, officers noted fresh scratches on his hands, neck, and back. He provided no explanation. A search of the residence located disposable gloves in a kitchen drawer matching those recovered outdoors. Relatives identified Jose as the man in the doorbell footage. Images found on his phone from earlier that morning showed him wearing the same jacket and cap. DNA evidence continued to link Jose to the scene. His left thumbprint matched the print found on Laken's phone. DNA recovered from under Laken's fingernails matched him and was consistent with defensive scratching injuries noted on his body. Additional doorbell footage showed a man in similar clothing the night before and again the morning of the attack. Another camera recorded him at approximately 10:30 a.m. discarding a plastic bag in a dumpster. That dumpster was emptied shortly after, and investigators believed additional clothing and items were removed in that load. Surveillance earlier that morning showed a man attempting to enter a graduate student's apartment. When confronted, he crouched down to avoid detection and left. A discarded white cup was found between that apartment and the wooded area where Laken was discovered. The cup contained alcohol and DNA matching Jose. Investigators used surveillance, cell tower logs, Wi-Fi records, and GPS data from Laken's smartwatch to build a complete digital timeline placing Jose at the scene. The physical evidence linked him to the assault and disposal efforts. Jose Ibarra was arrested and charged with malice murder, felony murder, aggravated assault, kidnapping with bodily injury, false imprisonment, hindering a 911 call, attempted sexual assault, and peeping. Investigators stated there was no known prior connection between him and Laken and described the attack as opportunistic. During trial, prosecutors presented surveillance footage, DNA, and digital trail evidence. The defense suggested others had access to Jose's phone, but no evidence placed anyone else at the crime scene. The judge found him guilty on all counts and sentenced him to life without parole. Laken Riley's case illustrated how surveillance, digital tracking, and forensic testing reconstructed her final movements and identified her attacker. Parking lots feel safe. We walk through them every day without giving it a second thought. But at 5 a.m. on March 12, 2022, a Walmart parking lot in Fernley, Nevada, captured a chilling sequence on CCTV, a masked man approaching an 18-year-old girl sitting in her car. What happened in the next few minutes would trigger a multi-state search, lead police through surveillance footage, digital data, and witness tips, and uncover the truth about a predator hiding in plain sight. 18-year-old Naomi Irion had recently moved to Nevada from South Africa, where her father worked as a U.S. diplomat. Naomi grew up in high-security environments with guards, restricted movement, and controlled access. In Nevada, she finally had freedom. She had a job, her own vehicle, and plans to attend college. On weekends, she rode a shuttle to her workplace at Panasonic Energy in Reno. March 12th was supposed to be a normal Saturday shift. At 5:03 a.m., Naomi parked in the Walmart lot and waited for the shuttle. She replied to messages on Snapchat until 5:23 a.m. That was her last recorded activity. Minutes later, surveillance footage captured a man in a hoodie walking toward her vehicle. His face was covered. He did not rush. Naomi was in the driver's seat. Something caused her to move into the passenger seat. The man entered the driver's side and drove away. The direction was unknown. When Naomi didn't return that evening, her brother assumed she was at work. By the following night, she had not answered texts or calls. At 8:30 p.m., he realized something was wrong and called the police. Naomi was officially reported missing. Detectives reviewed Walmart surveillance footage and confirmed the abduction. The investigation shifted from a missing person case to a criminal investigation. Public searches began. Naomi's family flew in from different states and from South Africa. Flyers circulated, and media attention increased. 3 days after the abduction, Naomi's vehicle was located behind a Sherwin-Williams paint store in an industrial park about a mile from Walmart. Inside were signs of a struggle. Police stated the discovery confirmed the disappearance was criminal in nature. Digital data offered additional leads. Cell activity directed investigators towards State Route 427 and Hill Ranch Road. Her phone was never recovered. Police also identified a vehicle of interest, a newer model Chevrolet High Country pickup. A neighbor recognized the truck and reported it. The lead directed investigators to Troy Driver, a 41-year-old. He was arrested at work on March 25th. The driver had a past criminal record that included an accessory to murder and armed robbery at age 17. On March 29th, a new tip led authorities to a remote area off Coral Canyon Road in Churchill County. There, in a shallow grave, Naomi's remains were recovered. The autopsy confirmed multiple gunshot wounds to the head and chest. The driver was charged with kidnapping, murder, and sexual assault. Investigators described the attack as opportunistic and confirmed there was no prior connection between Naomi and the suspect. After her death, Naomi's family relocated to Nevada to attend hearings and monitor proceedings. The community held vigils and fundraisers to support travel, housing, and legal expenses. Naomi Irion had just begun her independent life. She had goals, plans, and a future ahead of her. Her case remains a reminder that familiar spaces can become vulnerable. Investigators emphasize basic safety awareness, including locking vehicle doors, especially when alone at night or early morning hours. Court proceedings continue, and updates are expected as more details are released.